Picture this. Saturday night, September 27th, 2025. The band Bacon Grease is playing live at the American Fish Company. It's this great open-air place right on the Southport yacht basin in North Carolina. Just, a classic seaside town vibe.
Absolutely picturesque.
Then around 9:30 p.m., the music, the chatter, it doesn't just stop, it's shattered by gunfire. Sharp reports right off the water.
Yeah. A lone shooter in a small boat on the intracoastal waterway. He essentially turned that peaceful dockside scene into a tactical kill zone.
The toll was devastating. 3 people dead, 5 more seriously injured.
Just awful.
This is the deep dive. Today, we're going through the sources we have on the Southport tragedy. We want to get beyond the initial shock, beyond the headlines.
Right.
Our goal is to really unpack how all these factors came together so catastrophically. We're looking at how a decorated war veteran apparently descended into this very specific, very public, paranoid ideology.
And how that internal struggle ultimately exploded into this targeted attack on, well, a symbol of community life.
Okay, let's unpack this. What's fascinating here, or maybe chilling is the better word, is how meticulously planned the sources say this attack was. Right down to the weapon, the approach.
It was chillingly precise. And I think, when we look at the source material, especially around the suspect, Nigel Max Edge, and his background, this case really forces us to look at a major systemic challenge.
Which is?
It's that tragic gap, really, between seeing these very public red flags, documented distress, published delusions, and actually reaching the legal point where authorities can step in.
Let's start with the attack itself. The location, the American Fish Company, it's not just any bar, right? It's kind of a landmark.
It really is. And its location, right there in the Southport yacht basin, that was key. It meant it was accessible from the water.
Which the shooter definitely used to his advantage.
Absolutely. He came in from the intracoastal waterway in a small white center console boat. That suggests, familiarity with the area, a methodical plan to use the water for cover, and for escape, too.
And the weapon. The reports make it clear this wasn't just something pulled out randomly. It was a short-barrel AR-style rifle.
Yeah, and the configuration is what's really telling here. It speaks volumes about premeditation.
How so?
Well, we're not just talking a standard rifle. The sources confirm it was fitted with 3 specific things. A scope, obviously for accuracy, a folding stock, and, critically, a suppressor.
A suppressor, a silencer, essentially.
Exactly. Now, the folding stock makes it easier to handle and hide, especially on a small boat, but that suppressor, it does 2 things. Protects the shooter's hearing, sure, but the really terrifying part, it muffles the sound of the shots.
So in a crowded place, with music playing.
People don't immediately realize what's happening. Is it fireworks? A car backfiring? A few seconds of confusion.
Yeah.
That's what a calculated shooter wants. It allows for maximum damage before anyone can react, before the response really kicks in. He turned that dock into a tactical environment.
The chaos afterwards must have been immense. Reports mention a huge multi-agency response. Southport PD, Brunswick County Sheriff, Coast Guard, SBI.
Yeah, the State Bureau of Investigation. The response itself, though, is one of the, few positive notes here, if you can call it that.
How fast was it?
Incredibly swift, considering. The shooter took off right away in the boat, but the manhunt only lasted about 30 minutes.
30 minutes? That's fast.
It is. The Coast Guard, being on the water, they located and detained the suspect, Nigel Max Edge, around 10 p.m. He was at a public boat ramp over in Oak Island.
Oak Island, okay.
And get this, he was apparently in the middle of loading his boat onto a trailer. Suggests he had his escape route planned right down to the end point.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Or maybe deeply disturbing is more accurate. We have to shift from the crime to the person accused. Nigel Max Edge, age 40. He wasn't just some random guy.
No, not at all. And that's central to this whole tragedy. Before he legally changed his name in 2023, the sources identify him as Sean William DeBevoise.
Sean DeBevoise. And under that name, he was known publicly as a hero.
That's right. A U.S. Marine Corps combat veteran. Served 2003 to 2009. Former sniper. Deployed to Haiti, Iraq.
And decorated. The sources list a Purple Heart, Combat Action Ribbon, Iraq Campaign Medal with 2 Bronze Stars. That's significant service.
It is. And for a while, he was even something of a public face for wounded warriors. Back in 2012, the reports say, as Sergeant DeBevoise, he escorted Kelly Pickler, the country singer, at the Country Music Awards. He was celebrated.
A celebrated wounded warrior. But those wounds, they were incredibly severe.
Devastating. He suffered a gunshot wound to the head, had shrapnel embedded, and he was hit in 2 separate IED attacks.
Ooh.
Yeah. And the resulting diagnosis, according to military records cited in the sources, traumatic brain injury, PTSD and significantly schizophrenia. He had a 100% disability rating.
So profound physical and psychological trauma.
Exactly. And it seems like that trauma didn't just cause suffering. It became the sort of fertile ground for a really deep, structured delusion. His whole reality seems to have shifted.
And this wasn't just private suffering, it became public. In 2020, he published a book, Headshot, Betrayal of a Nation, Truth Hurts.
Right. And this book, it's basically a window into his paranoia. He laid out these extraordinary claims.
Like what?
He alleged his injuries weren't from enemy action in Iraq. He claimed it was friendly fire. Deliberately orchestrated, he said, by a group he called LGBTQ white supremacists.
Okay, that's quite a claim.
And he claimed they were persecuting him because he was a straight white man. It's all laid out there.
But the public red flags didn't stop with the book, did they? Looking at these court filings, he filed numerous lawsuits, mainly against the town of Oak Island and its police department.
Yes, and the content of those lawsuits.
Yeah.
It really underscores the depth of his distress, his paranoia. They were sprawling, bizarre. Thankfully, they were all dismissed by the courts.
What kind of things did he allege in the lawsuits?
Oh, it was wide-ranging. Crimes against humanity, human trafficking, attempted murder. He even specifically mentioned the Epstein pedophile ring, claiming local officials were somehow involved.
And he didn't just target officials, he accused his own parents.
That's right. The filings accused his own parents of being, quote, LGBTQ white supremacist pedophiles.
Wow.
That detail, I think, it shows just a total breakdown of trust in everything. It wasn't just suspicion of the government. It was a full-blown, all-encompassing delusion that seemed to infect every relationship, every institution in his life.
So the sources make it clear. For years, this man was highly visible. His mental decline, his specific violent-tinged paranoia, it was documented in court filings, in a published book.
Absolutely. Which brings us right back to that critical question.
The question our sources really force us to grapple with. If his struggles were this public, this well-documented, known to local police, how is he still legally able to own, modify, and then use a weapon like that AR-style rifle?
And this is where we need to really unpack that tragic gap. It's not just a gap. It's about the mechanisms of our legal system, which are designed to protect due process. Oak Island police confirmed they knew him. They were familiar with Edge because of his history, the lawsuits.
Familiar. But the sources say these were logged as only minor contacts until the shooting itself.
Right, and that sounds odd, doesn't it? Someone files lawsuits accusing the police chief of being part of a global pedophile ring. How is that minor?
Yeah.
Because the legal bar for intervention, like involuntary commitment or taking someone's firearms away, it's set very high. And for good reason, usually to protect civil liberties.
So you can be deeply paranoid, file completely bizarre lawsuits, and that's protected.
Generally, yes. That's considered protected speech, exercising your right to petition the court. To actually step in legally, authorities typically need to prove that the person poses an imminent threat to self or others. That specific legal standard.
So having PTSD, TBI, schizophrenia, even documented public paranoia, that's not enough on its own.
Legally. Often not. His lawsuits were dismissed, seen as delusional, sure. But the act of filing them or publishing the book, that itself doesn't automatically meet the imminent threat standard.
So police would need a specific criminal charge, or maybe a red flag law petition if North Carolina has one that applies?
Exactly. They'd need something concrete showing that imminent danger. And the sources suggest that despite all the warning signs, all the visibility, he apparently never crossed that specific legal threshold.
Yeah.
Not until the moment he actually opened fire.
That distinction between clearly documented mental distress and legally defined imminent danger, that seems to be the absolute crux of the failure here.
It really highlights how our system, designed to protect individual rights, especially for those with mental health challenges, can sometimes struggle. It struggles to find that space for proactive intervention to ensure public safety.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly. The target. If Edge's writings and lawsuits were so focused on Oak Island officials, why attack the American Fish Company in Southport?
That's a key question. The sources strongly suggest the location was targeted, yeah? But maybe not because it used to be a fishing facility, or even because of the specific people who were there that night.
Many of whom were tourists, right?
Exactly. Vacationers from out of town, is how one report put it.
So it was symbolic.
It really seems that way. The American Fish Company. I mean, it was even featured in that Nicholas Sparks movie, Safe Haven. It had become this real hub.
Yeah.
Open air, live music, families, visitors. It just represented
Normalcy. Community.
Happiness, community, normalcy, exactly. All the things that his internal world, his paranoia, had seemingly cut him off from.
So attacking it was like lashing out at the very idea of a peaceful society.
Precisely. The society he felt had betrayed him, injured him, persecuted him. It feels like an attack on peace itself, on community itself.
And the immediate aftermath reflects that. The American Fish Company announced it was closing indefinitely right after the attack.
Yeah, that silent dock, as some reports called it. It's such a potent symbol of the trauma, the violation of that safe space. It's going to take time for the community to process that, to reclaim that feeling of security.
Looking ahead, what's the legal path for Nigel Max Edge now? The charges are obviously serious.
It's extremely serious. He's being held without bond. He's facing 3 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted first-degree murder, and 5 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill.
That's a heavy list.
It is. And this is going to be a complex case. The investigation is huge, SBI, but also federal agencies like the ATF are involved, tracing the weapon, the modifications.
And the district attorney, John David, has already mentioned the death penalty.
He has. He stated publicly his office is considering it, pointing to the highly premeditated nature of the attack as a key factor.
So the prosecution will focus on the planning the boat, the modified rifle, the chosen target.
Absolutely. They'll need to demonstrate those aggravating factors for capital punishment. But on the other side, you have his defense. And the core of that will undoubtedly be his documented history, the TBI, the PTSD, the schizophrenia diagnosis.
That's going to be the central conflict in court then. Premeditation versus severe mental illness.
That's almost certainly the legal battleground.
But even as that legal process just gets started, the community response seems powerful. We're seeing reports of makeshift memorials, that bagpiper playing Amazing Grace across the water, prayer vigils.
Yeah, Governor Josh Stein called Southport a small but strong community, and you really see that resilience starting to show.
And there are resources available for the victims and their families, right?
Yes, that's important to note. The North Carolina Department of Public Safety has an Office of Victim Compensation Services that can help with eligible expenses, medical bills, funeral costs, lost wages. Support systems like that are crucial for healing after something like this.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the Southport shooting really stands out. It's this awful violation of peace, of place, but it's also rooted in this long documented tragedy of one person's mental illness, and it seems a systemic failure to connect the dots before it was too late. His issues weren't secret. They were in court records, in a book.
Right. And that leaves us with this critical takeaway, something for you, the listener, to really think about. We saw the signs, the public knew, the authorities knew about his slide into this paranoid worldview. The challenge isn't just spotting distress anymore. The real challenge is how we, as a society, adjust our legal and public health systems. How do we find a way to intervene effectively when someone's private torment becomes such a clear, documented public danger without trampling on the civil liberties that are so fundamental?
And think about the target. The sources suggest the American Fish Company was attacked because it represented community, normalcy, happiness. So consider this. In a world where violence can be so symbolic, how do communities protect that essential character, that open, welcoming feeling without building walls, without sacrificing the very openness that makes them special places to begin with?
That's the difficult balance communities everywhere grapple with after events like this.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the sources surrounding the Southport tragedy. We'll catch you next time.